Spinning.
I mean, people are. It'll be.
Welcome to the Stephen Hawking Hour.
Is it on? Yeah. Did it go on?
It's still spinning.
Oh yeah, it's on. We're good.
It's published, and Stephen Hawking is live.
I mean, see if people were actually watching this, they get some free action right here.
They do.
This is not really.
This is the podcast.
Well, this is the podcast, but it's not released to the podcast world. So majority of people.
Oh, Stephen Hawking is dead. You think his voice still talks like a computer?
I mean, it'd be interesting if it did. All right, let's get this party started.
You think it's like he's like dying and he still's like typing with his mind? He's like, I am.
Well, what's that movie?
Even
Lucy.
Hawking.
Did you see Lucy?
No.
It's kind of where. Yeah, we'll go into it later.
What are we going into?
All right, ready?
Oh, we don't have to clap now.
We don't have to clap. It's yeah.
The clapper.
We have to get all of our stuff ready, and we are almost live, folks. If you're tuning in on, I should link up the.
Fucking linking that shit up.
We're good, dude. Hopefully, this is a long intro for our YouTube audience.
Good.
Say something.
No, yeah, we're starting.
We're
we
live
started.
now
What's up?
on YouTube? So people are watching on YouTube.
Let's see it.
They'll see
what do you got, Ghost?
Inside the.
What do you got?
Inside the studio.
Why? You got to shovel some snow? Okay. Are you sad that Stephen Hawking died?
Yes. I'm very sad that he died.
Why?
Because he was a genius.
He was just wheeling around.
Yeah.
How do you have sex in a wheelchair? Because he couldn't move, right?
Morbid, bro. Morbid.
I'm just asking.
He slowly
damn it.
He slowly lost use, I think. I don't think one day he was walking around and he was.
Well, yeah, I know. Like it
Fail,
developed over, a couple of years, but
I thought it was many years.
I know, but like
was.
I'm saying, like now, because he had
Oh.
7 kids.
Oh.
Did he really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
he had 7 kids.
So maybe
He
had
was
it earlier in life
he was
before he
banging 7.
maybe before he lost all function.
All right, you ready? Let's start the show. We got a couple people watching. What's up, everybody?
I am Stephen Hawking, case file 27.
We're not at 27 yet. We're at 25.
Yeah, no, but Stephen Hawking sees into the future.
All right.
Flat Earth is 27. Oh.
Oh, yeah, it's 27. Yeah, because next week is... All right, cool. Ready? Give it
Yeah.
a clap, G. Let us know we're starting.
Clap it up.
What's going on, everybody? Nobody believes us, but this is the center of weirdness for the entire planet. I am Matt.
I am Stephen Hawking.
What's your real name, Stephen Hawking?
What's up, man?
What's going on, G? You ready for today?
Yeah, it should be a good one.
Yeah, we're exploring the mysterious, the spookiness that lives among us. Nobody believes us, but it is the center of weirdness. Anyway, welcome to the Nightmare 365 podcast. On today's episode, Case File 25, we are talking about the Phoenix Lights.
Phoenix Lights, like the Phoenix Cardinals.
The Phoenix Cardinals?
Yeah. Coyotes.
The Phoenix is rising. So if anybody remembers a week ago today, March 13th, 1997, 21 years ago, the Phoenix Light incident happened. And it changed people's perspective forever.
You really think so?
I don't know. The more I read, is mine on mute? Just want to check. Is it on mute? No, we're good. I don't.
So what do you think it changed people's perspective on what? Like life in general, or that we're not alone in the universe?
Well, I think a lot of people thought differently after this because the more I read into this,
Yep.
Were
you a believer before? Now you're a skeptic about it?
well, yeah, I think I'm more on the fence now
Than you were.
than I was.
Okay.
Just for the simple fact that, I don't know. Like the more I read and the more logic information that came out,
Yeah.
I can't explain it. It just when I was a kid, growing up, I remember watching this.
Yeah, I remember seeing it.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly when I was a kid when I saw this happen, but I just remember that it was on TV and it like freaked me out. And then I was like, oh, Alien. I was always obsessed with it around this time that it came out. But
Well, when did Independence Day come out?
that was
Around that time or no, before?
And I don't know. I could look it up.
Because
I'm
like the
not
regular
sure.
Independence Day, I wonder if that came out before or after
No,
the fact. Because it was Will Smith was pretty young in it, and then they just made the remake of it.
did they make a remake? Oh yeah, I didn't see it.
Yeah,
Did
Independence
you
Day.
watch it?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, it was. It tried to pick up where it left off, but like 20 or 30 years later.
96.
Okay, so this happened
I actually
right
did see it.
before.
Yeah, I did. I did see it. No. Oh yeah. Well, Independence Day happened before.
Correct. Yep.
The actual incident. So Phoenix Lights.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's weird because I do remember seeing Independence Day with Will Smith in the movie theaters
Yeah.
on Independence Day.
That's awesome.
And then yeah, I don't know. This always intrigued me, this incident, because I guess it was one of the most documented cases of a UFO. And then also there's
Well, it was like one of the biggest like recently. That's why I think.
in the time period,
Correct.
which we'll give a plenty of history on it. But first, let's just jump into some weird news, bro. So the weird news that I have for today, which is, I guess, not too weird. It's not out of the ordinary. You'll probably see it on the mainstream media and stuff. And I'll pull it up on the screen here. We have a Uber Lyft self-driving test car hits pedestrian in Arizona. So it has ties to the case file that we're talking about in Arizona. A woman was killed by the self-driving car. What do you think about robots and self-driving cars and the way the future's going with this?
I think it's just too much.
Do you think we'll ever get to a point where we don't even have to drive ourselves? We're just going to get in a car and, fingerprint us and then boom, we're off?
I hope not.
And do you think there's going to be more people killed by self-driving cars?
I mean, if this already happened.
I don't know the whole case. I mean, just from what I read, I wasn't there. Obviously, we're not there. We're not in Arizona. But just to be hit by a self-driving car, I don't know how fast it was going. It was a 49-year-old woman who was hit and killed, unfortunately. Just sucks. It doesn't give the speed.
But like here, the cops pull up. What do you do?
Well, there was a person in the car, right?
Oh, there was.
Yeah, there
okay.
was a guy, I guess, but he had it on self-driving mode.
So he couldn't stop.
I don't know.
You got to be shitting me.
I feel like you should be able to, but
like they didn't like with their driver's test, right? Like or the student drivers, they had a break.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
on
just
their
weird.
side of the car.
I mean, so that's the case, really. It's just weird. It's just I thought it was a weird situation, and now
I think
it shows
technology is
light.
getting like so advanced that it's kind of scary. Like you got self-driving cars, you got like all the technology with our phones and everything like that. People are so glued to their phones. Like,
Well, we talked about that too. Do you think like social media and just like the technology is killing us in some ways?
yes, I do. I think it's killing like instead of like going outside and playing like football or cops and robbers or anything like that.
Right.
You're inside on your iPad or your phone.
Yeah.
And then even like when you go out to dinner, you see like families like they watch movies or like they play on their phone, don't even talk to each other when they're going out to eat. Like I find that like weird.
I know, and I get drawn into it too, just for the simple fact that I don't know. I guess just because technology is at our fingertips, so it's one of those things where we could, if we wanted to do like this new case file, right, or just look up some weird news, it's so easy for us to actually just get it, write that information down, or like when you had a question like, oh, when was Independence Day filmed and when was it brought out?
Well, yeah, you can just Google everything except back in like when there wasn't any phones or anything like that. You had to go to the library, look up the index cards. How many people remember that?
Not too many people, I'm sure. I mean, I remember it, but
the catalog cards, and then you find out what section it is. Now it's done on computers now.
True. I don't know, man. So it's just weird. I thought it was just a weird thing, and we're seeing into the future of like what is going to happen, not just with Google cars and just Uber and all that stuff. So
yeah,
it was just an interesting thought inside, whatever. Just crazy, man. So this case file, bro, about the Phoenix Lights.
Case file 25, Stephen Hawking.
You miss Stephen Hawking, don't you?
I just like doing his voice.
But so the Phoenix Lights was a UFO sighting that happened occurred in Phoenix, Arizona.
Correct.
On March 13th, 1997, and the lights were varying in descriptions, where thousands of people reported. And I read some accounts too that it was like 1,000.
1,000
to
people?
Yeah, to like 20,000.
I don't know. I mean, like, depending on how many people reported it. Like, I'm sure, like, you know, a lot of the city saw it because a lot of people got it on video camera too.
Well, this is another piece of this case, which it was two separate events.
Correct. It didn't happen on one night. It happened on, like, how many days apart?
Which I want to break it down.
Okay.
Just because I think a lot of people know the first or the second event that really took place, you know, because that was on mainstream media.
Yep.
And then it got brought into almost like international light, because it was a story that was just enclosed in Arizona, and then the local media in 1998. So, you know, years after, and probably when we saw it,
Sure.
you know, was in 1998, where it really broadcast to the whole United States and then pretty much worldwide from that point.
Sure.
And I think that's when, you know, more people started to look into this and say, this is definitely UFOs, or this is something extraterrestrial.
All right. So break it down. What do you want to break down here?
What do you mean? We went over this before the show.
No, I'm saying, like, what do you want to, like, you said it's two separate nights, what most people don't realize.
So, yeah, with the two events.
Yep.
So the first event that did happen, it didn't happen, you know, people think, oh, it would just happen over Phoenix, Arizona. No.
No.
It happened northern, you know, part. The first event doesn't get much play because there wasn't any photographs. There was one grainy
Yeah, there was
film.
one. Yeah, there was one film when I
by
I saw.
a gentleman.
Correct.
And it was in the Prescott Valley area, the Dewey Lights, or
Yeah,
is that how you say it?
he had a party or something like that, and he was outside in his balcony, and they started filming.
And that's more of the triangle shape that you
Yes.
see. You know, you'll see the pictures in the newspapers with the triangle, the UFO, where the report came, where it was actually created in the newspaper. It was in USA Today. People could see where it said "Sky's phone lights up the sky in Arizona," and that's where you see the picture. But the film itself, you could actually find on YouTube.
Yep.
And it's real grainy, very distorted.
Well, I mean,
you
people
can't make it out, but it's from 1997.
Yeah, so the technology, like with video cameras, like remember that big clunky thing, you know, with the VHS tape
yeah.
in it, so it's not going to be
I mean, that
digital
was still
HD quality.
that was still used when we were in high school. It's
Yeah,
kind of crazy
so-
to think about now that we have
A cell phone. But
that's-
even
that's
then, like,
filming us
what
right
I hate
now.
about, like, now, like, you see something outside and you take a video of it, it's not really that clear. Like, if you're driving in your car or something like that.
Yeah, I never understood that. I never. Well, yeah, even some of the recent sightings, because this is not just a sighting that happened. Yes, this main event that we're talking about happened in 1997, but there's also people that have seen it throughout the years. It reappeared supposedly in 2007. It reappeared again in 2008, where the lights were happening all over again. And the one from 2007 was in February, and the local Fox News station was one who really picked it up, but the military squashed it right away. And they were saying they were dropping more flares. And so that was in 2007. Same thing happened in 2008, where people started seeing lights reported in northern Phoenix area from local residents. You know, same thing happened. The U.S. military in the base came right out and said, you know, we're just doing other training exercises with lights and flares and all that stuff with balloons. So, and even recently I saw some people posting about lights and all that. So this is a case that has, or in this area, has a rich history of lights, whatever you really want to call them. You know, whether it's extraterrestrial, military, or somebody kind of messing around.
Yeah, I don't think it's anyone messing around with this one.
You don't think so?
No. I mean, you want to dive into some of the theories. I'm good with that.
Well, here,
Or you
so
wanna-
the first event, people, you know, saw this, this occurrence, and it was almost like the craft was moving. People said in this first event that happened, they said there was no sound emanating from this object. You know, it blacked out, you know, the stars that
Correct.
people saw.
It was
And-
almost like what'd they say, like a foil shaped, or like foil material, because like when it passed overhead, all the stars went black, and then a couple.
Well, that's just like any
a
object,
minute or
right?
so later, you know, it all the stars reappeared, like it passed over.
Yeah, so the first event really was just people witnessing this stuff and just accounts that people, said that this was a UFO, that this was something that they couldn't explain, right?
Correct.
And then the second event, that's which this case, the Phoenix Lights, when everybody thinks of the Phoenix Lights from 1997, this is what they think of.
Sure.
But even though this was like the second event that it really happened.
Well, because I think more people like maybe were looking up at the sky now, so they actually saw this.
Well, a lot
more.
of people attributed this to like, all right, it was the same craft.
Maybe, yeah.
We don't know. There's a lot of speculation with that. And this is when it really got played because after, the national media picked it up, then it really started to be, documentaries started to be made. Television channels came in, like the Discovery Channel, the History Channel, and started talking about this case file.
Sure.
And yeah, it's interesting to see and read the accounts. And then I'll just pull up original video, which if you're watching our YouTube page, I'll play a little bit. So this is just original footage of that night.
This was the second night you're talking about?
This is the second night over Phoenix. So
this one's weird to me because like the lights turn on and off in a sequence if you look at the video.
Okay, yeah. I want to play another video because, what we always try to do is a recommendation,
sure.
like to check out what
to read. We'll link
stuff.
these videos up in the show notes.
And the one video I want to show or play that I recommend, which we'll talk about after.
Like that does not look normal.
No, it doesn't.
And it doesn't look like a flare drop from a fucking airplane or, like what the Air Force claims. I'm sorry, it's not it.
Well, yeah, let get back to the case. After people started seeing this, the military didn't come out right away and say anything.
No, obviously there's mass hysteria. People want an explanation. Like, you deserve an explanation. That's bullshit. Like, and they come out, oh, it's a weather balloon. Oh, it's flares. Oh, it's this, it's that. Like, no, that does not look like flares to me.
Well, yeah, even the governor at the time, which...
Well, he did say in the very beginning he saw it too, and then, like, through, like, I guess, like, humiliation, or maybe, like, somebody called him and was like, yo, man, like, you can't say that.
Yeah, maybe somebody in the military called.
He made a joke of it, because then he had a press conference the next day, and was like, oh, we caught the people who did this, and he trotted out like an alien, like one of his staffers dressed up as an alien.
Yeah, Fife Symington. He had the press conference, which is like it's famous.
That's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, where the alien
took
off the alien's head and they're all laughing and joking.
Because then he came out years later and was like, I did see something. All right,
if you look at that, just in that particular thing, because this was another thing I really wanted to talk about in this case file, just with Fife himself. He came out.
Sure.
He did say he saw it. He was in a documentary now.
Yep.
He was, what was he on, the UFO Hunters on the History Channel?
Yeah, he was on the UFO Hunters.
He was also on that show as well. So he came out years later on a bunch of different shows and bunch of different media's outlets and said, yes, he was a military pilot, and he said that this was otherworldly. He's never seen, and he's flown tons of aircraft.
Have you seen that before?
What? Well, this is what makes this case file very compelling because we have this original footage.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely link it into the show notes. And if people want to look at it now, it's Unsolved TV has it on their YouTube channel, and it has the original lights. It does look pretty freaky when you look at this, and when massive amount of people have saw this. And I want to point out the woman's name because I want to give her a lot of credit to this.
The woman who filmed it?
No. Well, the woman that filmed this one that we're seeing, she made a documentary about it.
Correct.
Which we'll talk about her in a second. But she was a congresswoman. I can't find her name where I wrote this down. This is terrible. I hate when this happens. But so this lady interviewed and took over like 700 and something calls from the surrounding area, and she even brought it up to McCain at the time, who was in Congress,
and he laughed, right?
Yeah, he laughed out of it. He said something about it was just a military training exercise, something like that. When I find this lady's name in the notes that I have,
because like you would think, like here's like my theory on like UFOs. Most of them can be explained away. I really think that some of them probably are military, like experimental aircraft. Cool. However, this was how many years ago now? 21 years ago.
21 years ago, yeah.
So you would have seen this aircraft or this type of aircraft military used, because even like the special black projects from Area 51 and all that kind of stuff like have come out. within 20 years of like people seeing that kind of stuff. So like this would have came out if it was like a military prototype aircraft, I think.
Well, if it was an aircraft, but
What do you?
we all know what the military said with this.
Yeah, it was flares.
Yes, they were. The second incident that they said it was flares.
Yes.
The U.S. Military or the U.S. Air Force said the second event was slow-moving, low-burning LUU 2B-B illumination flares dropped by an A-10 Warthog aircraft.
Yep.
That was on a training exercise, in the Barry Goldwater.
And plus, like they did like one of the documentaries that I watched. They did the experiment.
And it doesn't look like what they had in the film.
Because like you could see like the
but
flare streaks like streaking down.
Okay.
And these turn on and turn off and stay at the same level.
Right. Which I understand, but where this lady was filming, which was another thing I really want to bring up and recommend. Sorry if people heard something play before. I was actually trying to find the video, and the video played.
Stephen Hawking played videos.
Well, these people did an experiment. And this is what I want to talk about as well with this, because there's a lot of skeptical beliefs on this.
Okay.
And so they did this experiment where they showed from the filming location during the daytime, and they superimposed that over the night shot.
Sure.
And then you actually saw where the mountain ranges lay, where in relations to the city, to where that film location was, which we showed.
Sure.
That famous footage. Off in the distance. And it was, if you look at it, right? We all know that the human eyes can play tricks.
Well, yeah.
On us.
They try to make shapes out of certain things.
They try to make shapes, and we always try to
make sense.
Not to even just make sense, but if you look at it in the distance, you're trying to gauge how far that really is, right? If you're looking in the horizon or anywhere, like a car's coming speeding at you, like, all right, how much time do I have to react? So this was a good distance off from where the film was actually taking place.
Sure. What was it, 10 miles?
I don't have that in my notes.
I thought it was 10 miles.
I don't know.
I thought I heard that on one of the documentaries that was like 10 miles away. Might have been more, but...
It was. It was a good distance away from, the actual area that it happened. And they also had this data where they talked about the wind direction and, when the wind was blowing. And the way that they said if flares were, falling... from balloons. They now say there was from balloons.
Oh, so now we're ballooning it.
Well, this is what they say. In some of the reports, the balloons were holding the flares. That's why it was even more slow moving. And then also with the wind and the temperature, it kind of held them up longer than really it was.
Okay.
Now, with this whole thing, right? I mean, if we were outside one day and all of a sudden something happened and we saw lights, we even saw it with videos recently with the whole SpaceX launches, right?
Yeah.
Where we talked about how people got hysterical. Some people did, right?
Sure.
When they were like, "Oh my God, that's a UFO? That's a UFO, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, like aliens are here." When most people, if you read the news or you look some stuff up, you knew they were going to do a launch.
Correct.
And then for the other people that were just in panic. Could this be a similar case that happened?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
You don't think some people seeing this would just be, shit. And then some people knew like, hey, this is a military exercise.
No.
We're not thinking anything of it.
No. Because there's video of it.
Well, there's video of the same thing, right? With the SpaceX. So
no, I get that. But like this doesn't look from this Earth.
It doesn't.
It passes the eye test. Like, all right, what do you think it is?
I mean, what do I think? I'm not sure.
What's your theory? Like after reading and watching all this.
I mean, are we jumping that far ahead?
All right, well,
we don't go over anything.
I'm just saying.
No, what I'm trying to say is if I had a guess, right? I don't have a clue. I wasn't there. I'm only given the evidence, from 21 years later.
Sure.
And I can only say I want to believe, right? I so want to believe in aliens. I want to believe in UFOs. But I also have to look at things logically, and I try to look at things as logically as possible.
No, I get that. And you have to, because we're not the type of people who just jump to conclusions like, oh, I heard a noise in the house, it's ghost. Like, no. It's like, all right, it's the pipes.
And
it's
and
the
I
house,
enjoy
you know,
that. I
whatever.
enjoy that kind of experience, trying to figure something out. But at the same time, I really love a good mystery. And sometimes I don't even want to know anything about a case, just for the simple fact that, like, shit, that looks weird. I mean, just as a kid growing up, in my mind, from 21 years ago till now, I always thought this was aliens,
Yep.
And both sides can lie, right? So sides on, like, the people trying to prove that it's not aliens, that
Sure,
it's just
yeah, I get
flares. And reading some of the documentations that these people came up with, their conclusions from these documentaries, or
Yeah.
even the skeptic, it was a skeptical analysis, I guess it was made.
I didn't see that. What did the
so the-
skeptical analysis
well,
say?
In April of 2007, an episode of Skeptoid podcast,
Skeptoid.
the alien invasion of Phoenix, Arizona. So there was scientific skeptic, this guy Brian Dunning, evaluated the details of the Phoenix lights.
Okay.
And they went into, with this whole analysis, like I said before, where they superimposed a daytime shot
Correct, yeah.
with the mountains with a nighttime shot.
Okay.
Now, if you're looking at this footage and the way that they explain it,
Yeah.
you could look at it and say it was definitely flares,
Okay.
just for the way it was falling. And it did look like it fell over the backside of the mountain. But everybody in the reports, if you look at, the testimonies, and I'm going to mention the woman's name, the councilwoman, who is actually the one taking a lot of these phone calls. A lot of the people said it was in front of the mountains.
Okay.
So now you're getting, these people that did this experiment,
Sure.
superimposed, they took the video. Who knows how, like, close they actually came to the exact spot where the original film
Sure.
was made, right? We don't know. We could only go by what they say,
Okay.
So if you look at this footage, I'm going to link this in the show notes because I found this one very compelling. If you want me to play it, I don't know if it'll get kicked off anywhere, but I'll play a little bit of it, and they'll explain how they did this. It took them countless hours to try to get it like a match.
Okay.
And then it does look like it falls behind the mountains.
Okay.
I mean, that's the only thing I could say, like, from the conclusion that they came with, right? Then there was another set of people that came in and tried to, do the same thing. And they said, no, it fell in front.
Okay.
Then a third party, not to do with any of these two, supposedly came in and they found it with the original footage that it did fall behind the mountains.
Okay.
So that was from the Skeptic Society in 2008, an article. You could read all about it.
All right. Well, here's like
It was even on Dateline too.
here's my question.
Okay.
Okay, about this falling behind the mountains. Mountains aren't straight, right? And mountains like go high and low, and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So wouldn't the flares turn off in like not the same order that they turned on?
Yeah. So
that's like my only question, my only skepticism about this. Like you would see, like, all right, maybe the first one turned off, then like the second one went down, and like the other one, and it would probably jump back and forth if they're going around the mountains.
right. I'm gonna try to find the video. I think this is
Because I think that's like bullshit. Like that's just a cop out. Like, oh yeah, it fell behind the mountains. All right, yeah, that's plausible, but like when they turn on and turn off in like the same fashion, and they're all level.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So right now I have it up on our, the thing that we're talking about is 1997 Phoenix Lights UFO solved.
Like a whack job.
And this video is just from from Wicker Man, 1972. So if you look at this, right, see what they're doing right now. Right now, what they're doing in this video is trying to superimpose the daytime shot over the nighttime shot.
Sure, I get that.
And it does look like it's in front of it, right?
Okay.
So that was one thing that I was like, all right. But now they're explaining it. Now you see it like drop behind the mountain, in this video.
Okay.
So, and obviously I told you about the third party, the second party that came in and kind of analyzed this video as well and tried to recreate, what they were doing, and which I think it's smart. And I think what they're doing, even if it doesn't bring anything light to the case.
Well, yeah, you got to look at like all the angles. Yeah, I get that.
So that's why I wanted to recommend this video. If people haven't seen this, I could just show you, because this was just a short clip that they show, and they said, but how do you know this is the same exact spot, or, what they're superimposing
is
correct?
Yeah, that's
right?
bullshit.
We don't know.
You don't know.
So that's where it just gets a little fishy. And you can see they go out in different orders. So if they were flares, it's possible. And yes, this looks like 10, 20 miles away. You know, if you had to gauge it, right? It almost doesn't look like it's over the city. And if that's the mountains, it does look like it's going behind the mountains. So I don't know, man. It got me thinking.
Okay, yeah, all right, it gets you thinking, but
But
no, fuck no.
All right. So the woman that I wanted to really bring up was the councilwoman, Barwood.
Yeah, she was on one of the documentaries I watched.
Yeah, she's been on plenty, and she was really good. And she took over 700 from her claims witnesses that she interviewed herself.
Sure.
And she tried to interview people in the government too. No one seemed to, wanted to get interviewed.
That's a fucking shocker.
So, well, that's another thing that I didn't like too, bringing it back to the Fife guy, the governor.
Sure.
And just looking at him, right?
He had the power to do something, he chose fucking not to.
Yeah, and then
that's bullshit.
So how do I believe his story when he comes out later on and says, well, yeah,
wasn't he trying to get reelected? That's why he didn't want to like make a big stink of it.
Which I get it, but everybody now is very politically correct, and it's with all the information that we do know, with as many people. This is what I don't get. Even when people find out I like this kind of stuff, they tell me like everything.
Well,
like, oh, I do a podcast about this. They're like, oh, you really believe in that? Oh, and I have a story. I have a ghost story. I have this. Like, it's like cool. I like this, but
yeah,
why isn't this like open more? Like if I said,
because I think people look at like we always talk about it. We always talk about it that like people think or people have a perception of like. Take any conspiracy theory or take any theory that you believe in, and you could be actually basically look at them and be like, all right, yeah, you believe in aliens, or you believe in flat Earth, or you believe in Bigfoot, you believe in this. Like you look, you're not a businessman going to like Goldman Sachs believing in like fucking Bigfoot or
right. You look like someone who would believe that.
Yeah, you look like somebody. You look like somebody who just ate at the Waffle House is going to work at like.
Right. I think there's certain things though that are more ubiquitous, like the ghost stories. I feel like everyone's got something.
Yeah.
Weird. I mean, I even have weird stuff and I don't even believe it.
What do you got that's so weird? One thing.
The ghost doesn't want to talk about
this.
The ghost is in the house tonight.
Like years ago when I was probably like 14, going to a friend's house, around here.
Yeah.
And he used to always say that his house was haunted.
Okay.
And one I think it was in the evening. It was dark. It wasn't super late. We're in his house. He had a shed. And the lights were going on and off in the shed.
That's pretty cool.
And I was like, oh, someone's in your shed. We went to his shed and it was locked.
Huh.
Like no one was in this shed.
Okay.
So at the time I was like, oh man, it's haunted, like ghosts are real. But now I think it was probably something to do with electricity or something.
I can go either way on that one.
I mean,
see that's why like even when I talked about it, when I said, when I followed this as a little kid, for 21 years, UFO. Now you really I don't know. You find out there's a lot of people that BS.
I think there's a shit ton of people that BS, and I think there's a shit ton of people that like either
I love this case though.
Either don't have any friends or like want to like be part of a group, so they're like I believe in this or this.
All right, what about this gentleman?
You got some whack jobs out there.
I'm just gonna bring another thing to this story.
Is that the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy?
Kurt Russell.
Yeah, Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell. You know him from that?
Oh,
that's
recently?
Yeah, that's the biggest.
The last thing I saw him in.
No, yeah, I mean he's been in tons of movies. So in
Escape from New York.
In this interview, from LA? I will put this up too, because he was a pilot and he waited 20 years to.
Well, I told you that last week that like airline pilots like don't like to say like that they saw stuff because then their credibility and like maybe their license will be in jeopardy.
Yeah, and then they'll be ridiculed. They'll be like, "All right, this guy's a little Looney Tune. He can't fly."
Correct.
Yeah, but this was pretty cool because I recently saw this. It's been out for a year now that he came out and said this, but he was a pilot. He was in with his son flying over that area at the time.
Okay.
And he says in an interview, that he was a pilot.
Okay.
that called this UFO in. He said they saw the lights, him and his son. They were like, what the hell's that? They called the air traffic controllers.
Yeah.
And the air traffic controllers said there's nothing on radar.
Okay.
And then I don't know, like this is again like going and trying to redo the event.
Sure.
Do flares get picked up on radar?
Probably no. Probably not.
So okay,
Like a big flock of birds will get picked up on radar, but
right.
I don't know
All right,
about
so
flares. But you would see the warthog go by.
you would, and then how come no one said anything? Because they were like, "There's nothing in your area."
Yeah.
So
why.
if you looked at
Goddamn
this,
flares, weather
right?
balloons.
Yeah. So if you look at this, like this is a thing that plays into this.
Yeah.
You know, he talks about he never reported it, and he says in the interview, which was kind of weird. So I don't know if this was like a time slip thing for UFO.
Okay.
But he said after the event, right? Like they're flying along, they see the lights. He reports it to air traffic control. Like, hey, is there anything in my area? There's nothing in your area. There's nothing. Nothing is showing up on radar besides you. Blah blah. Okay, cool. I see lights. I mean, me and my son are seeing this in the area. Okay, we're not seeing things.
Yeah.
He's an experienced pilot supposedly at this time. So they land, they do their thing. He said he forgets about the whole incident. And then like years later, and his wife and a couple other family members bring it up. Like it was on the news and they said something about it. And he's like, oh shit. Like I totally blocked that out. Like I totally forgot about that.
Sure.
But
Or do you think he forgot about it? Or you think like, if he brought it out, would he like not have like gotten any movie parts?
Well, that's what some people were saying, like after this interview came out, they were saying like, he might have been shunned by the community, not maybe get certain roles.
Yeah.
Just like the governor, maybe he had to come out and ridicule it because, people in the military were like, but you better shut your mouth about this.
Well, I mean, like you look at like
Yeah, 'cause,
recent,
like,
news with like the whole scandals in Hollywood.
Yeah. Like why doesn't anybody say anything like in the time? So it took him 20 years? I mean, this was posted in 2007.
Well, that's like another thing. I think people do, like, I don't know, me and the ghosts have the same feeling about like, whatever you want to call them.
What?
Believers. Like they have a certain stigma about them. So like, I feel like if me or you, like, let's say we had a legitimate experience and we filmed it, got it, we broadcast it to the world, people are gonna be like, oh, you made that up, you're a hoax, you're this,
you
you're
guys
that.
have this
so
YouTube channel,
like I feel
you already
like
have this podcast,
yeah,
you do
I feel
this
like
stuff.
if we brought something out, and maybe he didn't want all that scrutiny, or
I think that's
maybe people don't.
I think it's very true, and I think he didn't at the time. And I'll link this one too because I think it was just an interesting, interview and just what he said too about like totally forgetting it. And
because even like some presidents in the United States have UFO incidents and experiences, and like
who was it? Ronald Reagan had one.
Yeah, Roosevelt had
Didn't
one.
that guy have one? And people wrote him off during like some primary.
Recently, or
no, this was in recent history, but he was like a short guy from the South, a Democrat, I think.
did he ever get elected, or
Something
just
with a K? Dennis Kucinich, is that him?
Maybe.
could have? I mean, see, but this is the thing I don't get.
checking
Like,
that out.
if people, it's talked about a lot. Like, how many books are written about UFOs, about monsters, about Bigfoot?
Yeah, but
all
there's
about
a
all this-
certain faction of people that are into it, and like not like the mainstream media likes
That's the
to-
mainstream media.
I know that, but like
That's all these things.
I know, but like look at today's news, right? There was a not to bring up like politics or anything, but like there was a school shooting or attempted school shooting in Maryland today, right?
Yeah, 2 people died.
No.
One.
Only the gunman died. You know
Okay.
why? Because there was an officer in the school saw this kid and shot him. 2 other people were injured, but like that's not going to make the mainstream media because it's not like to their narrative. So like they're not going to report like
UFOs, strange, weird
UFOs,
shit.
yeah,
but then why
strange conspiracy theories, and then like they do some of these documentaries just to appease people, right?
Yeah, like
Yeah, it was Kucinich. I just wanted to let you guys know.
Okay.
with
It like
he
messed up
came
his
out.
campaign when someone asked him a question about UFOs,
Yeah.
and he said he saw one, and I think that had an adverse effect on his campaign.
See, I don't believe that. I'd be like, yes, that guy's awesome. I'm voting
Yeah,
for him.
but probably some people are like, no, F that guy. Like,
it's a
aliens don't
Looney
exist.
Tune, don't
Yeah, it's a
fall for
Looney
it.
Tune. Aliens don't exist.
Yeah, but all
This
right.
and that.
From reports from this, right? The councilwoman she interviewed, Barwood interviewed about 700 people, right? So some
Okay.
people saw something. 700 people saw something.
Yeah.
In accounts, there was thousands of people that saw something.
Sure.
Now millions of people saw something because of the video,
Yeah.
right? So even if you want to say 50-50, right? That's still a half, whatever, 1,000 people. If there's 2,000 people, there's 1,000 people that saw it that believe,
Sure.
And I just don't know why there's not a big enough faction, I guess.
Like a push for have the government.
Not even the government. I don't even care, but just almost normalize it. Like, all right, you have a ghost story. I'm not going to look at you weird. And I don't think if anybody called this show and said, hey, I have a story about this, we're not going to be like, yeah, we might question some things and we might look at it logically like we do at this case, right?
Sure.
But at the same time, we're going to be like, all right, I could see that, like with this, I could see like the lights. And if I was in that situation.
All right. So but what do you think? Okay. What do you think if, is widely accepted or widely viewed that aliens do exist, that they visit this earth daily?
I think some people would panic. So I think people are worried about that. But at the same time, just talk about it. Because the more you talk about it, the more normal it gets and the more, in mainstream it becomes. And then at the same time, you'd be like, oh, I saw a UFO. Well, yes, let's honestly talk about it. And I don't think people honestly talk about certain things. Like we could sit here and say, you believe this, but I believe, hey, it was a UFO.
Sure.
And you're like, no, I don't. Or we could like discuss it and then come to an understanding and be like, hey, I have this evidence, right? SpaceX just launched here. You want to go? Here you go. When I was just freaking out saying this was aliens attacking us.
Sure.
Or, hey, North Korea's finally bombing us.
No.
Like
then we're gonna send Dennis Rodman over there again.
yeah, but like
shoot
stuff
some
like
hoops
that
with the
people
guy.
were saying, So I don't know. Maybe the more we talk about it, the more it just becomes the norm, and then people don't freak out as much.
Maybe, but then
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, this happened 21 years ago.
if it's not mainstream by now, I don't think it ever will be, unless like you get like a legitimate,
All
like
right.
New York City.
Let me ask
It
you this.
flies over,
Well,
and or it's like televised like from a football or
all right.
baseball game.
If,
and
if
like
you
the
were
whole
if you
world
were
sees
if you were
it.
in Phoenix,
Okay.
right? If you were in Phoenix and you saw this, and why would aliens just hover over Phoenix? Like, are they testing something out, or because we know there's military bases over there? So the whole flare things, to me,
it's plausible.
to me, it doesn't look like flares.
No, it's
right?
not.
Because when you see videos of flares, yes, you could see almost like the stream of it.
Yeah,
But the way that
and they flicker.
the way that they describe it, I mean,
Here's like my
I would
theory.
I would have to get those flares. We would have to get.
Here's my theory, like why they hover over certain places or why they're more viewed in certain places. One, light exposure. Big cities like New York City, like you don't really see stars, right?
Right.
So maybe like they're higher up, so you don't really see them. Two, I think they concentrate around either nuclear test sites where there's nuclear bombs, okay, or where there's secret military projects going on because they want to keep an eye on us,
Yeah, that I agree. That would be pretty sweet.
right?
Yeah, I could see that totally.
So what was going on in Phoenix at the time?
Well, that's near like the whole Area 51 area, like all those like, secret CIA bases and
Okay.
secret,
Well,
Air Force
yeah,
bases.
there is a bunch of Air Force bases over there, a bunch of training facilities.
Yep.
But then you also had people in the military that came out. This was years later, so I take it with a grain of salt. But this guy said, what was his name? Let me try to find it. But he said he was the gentleman who drove the plane that dropped the flares. But then again, why are you dropping flares so close to a city?
Yeah,
I mean, I
makes
understand
no
it's on the
fucking sense.
other side of the mountain range, if that's the case, right?
Sure.
If that was the case, what kind of training experiment just drops flares and
No.
and like doesn't drop like because wouldn't you drop flares to illuminate something? So if you had training exercises going on, there'd be like military people running
That's why I don't
around.
believe that. I think that story's bullshit. Like, because they couldn't come up with, it's a weather balloon.
Yeah, but then why didn't see? Here's another thing. Then why didn't they
It's always
come
fucking
out?
a weather balloon.
Yeah, which I don't understand. I think that's so stupid. Like, don't think the American people are.
They do. They think we're fucking stupid.
and just say, well, it was a weather balloon.
They think we're, like the government thinks we're stupid. If you don't know that by now, like,
Well, yeah, I think the government
Yeah.
puts out these things.
Kind of got a point. Don't
What?
they?
What?
No, I'm joking.
What,
I
were they
said,
were
don't they
stupid?
kind of have a point that like the general public is not the most thoughtful?
yeah, they just accept whatever they see.
Well, that's true.
Right.
Just like we see in the
'Cause I
mainstream
don't think-
media, right?
They want to live in their bubble, and they want to like everything be like, oh, okay, you know, my life's good, this and that. Like, I don't want to question anything. And like they put out, oh, is a training exercise flares? Okay, that makes sense. Okay, let's move
Yeah,
about
it's
because they don't want
like
to think about the
lies.
possibilities.
Right. They get told the Earth's round. People just believe it.
That's it.
Meanwhile, we're living on a disc, and they don't even know it.
I
Ah,
can't wait for that episode.
Segue.
That's gonna be
Um,
fucking great.
No, but yeah, but then how? Well, my other point was how come they didn't come out with the first incident that people saw the night before or earlier before about?
I'm gonna blow your mind right now.
Oh, go ahead.
What if aliens are us on the flat Earth underside?
What the
Upside down?
upside down?
Blew minds right there.
Well, I used to have a conversation with my buddy from college who said aliens are really us
is
in
this
the
the
future.
little guy?
No, it was aliens are us in the future that are coming back to like kind of probe things in certain ways that they want us. Like, all right, we're gonna have to go this way.
I don't know about
So
that.
it's time travel.
In a sense.
Ooh.
So you get back
Ooh.
to that whole dynamic.
Right.
The ghost likes that.
Well, when you're talking about these Phoenix lights, right? Phoenix lights.
The Phoenix Light
Um,
incident of 1997.
So both those events happened the same day.
Ghost. Yeah.
One happened at 8, one happened at 10.
Well, yeah, earlier. Well, there was also some conflicting reports if you read some of the documents.
But generally, something
Right.
like
Correct.
that.
Generally, yes.
So the first one, the skeptic's explanation is that V shape was aircrafts.
Correct.
So if that was the case, there would be radar
Correct.
records of that. Unfortunately,
There's
as
not.
everything said, radar. There's no one kept the records. The
Well,
second thing,
yeah,
is
no
the
one
thing that-
asked for the records either.
Right.
And then after a certain point, those records from radar get cleaned out.
Yeah, they said 11 days.
Right.
So the second thing is the thing with the flare. So it's this 2-event thing. So when Kurt Russell and Chris Pratt, or whoever his son is, right, are
The galaxy.
flying in the sky, and they call whomever they called and said, "Oh, we have no records. Nothing's in your area." Which event is he? What did he talk about? Was he the first?
I think the
8
sec- the
o'clock
sec-
one?
the second event.
Second
The
one.
second event.
Second event.
Okay, so that makes sense then that there wouldn't be anything in his area.
If it just dropped.
Correct.
Right. Right. So that's why, like, I'm not on the fence. I guess.
Are
I
we
guess
getting
I am.
into our theories now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now we're into the theories. Greg wants to know.
You're gonna go last? Okay. Go ahead, man.
Go ahead.
No,
You-
no, 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 no. I want to hear
No,
this
no, no, no,
skeptic
no.
because
No,
you were
no.
a believer. Now you're a skeptic.
No.
Because this whole like daylight video made you a skeptic. Now
No, it didn't. But
it really put into my brain that maybe it was going.
Well, when I first watched it
because
in
it was-
2008, when it,
was
came
like
out on the
this
History
going
Channel,
behind the mountain. Woo.
is that how it went?
Yeah.
The
No. So let's hear it.
I'm torn because I think the way that they described it just from the first event from people, and granted we have no video evidence, so I don't know.
Sure.
It could have been the warthog that was flying around, but people said it made no sound. Okay,
You know how loud a warthog is?
I understand. And there was people that said that they did hear a swooshing sound. So the second event,
Yep.
if I'm taking it at face value and saying it was flares,
Okay.
right? I feel like some would burn out at different times.
Okay.
Some would either, I don't know. It seems too perfect to be flares.
Yep.
And that's where I get
Because
the
they would
hang
fall
up.
at different rates too, depending on the
Right.
burn period.
And they all stayed in pretty unison with each other from the vantage point that we have.
Correct.
Right? And maybe we'd have to see more evidence, but just from seeing this alone, and no one ever focuses on another aspect. If you watch most of these videos of the Phoenix lights, you see the 9, sometimes it's 5, 7, whatever, some flicker on before others, right? So here's one thing, right? I'm looking at it logically. If the thing dropped it a while ago, wouldn't they all be lit at the same time?
Yes.
Or wouldn't they all be lit when it dropped?
yes.
So if Kurt Russell's there and Kurt Russell's driving by,
He's driving by now.
flying by. He's flying by, and he sees the lights. The plane still has to be there because
Not necessarily.
well, if some are on, right? Because if you watch the video again, you see like some are on, and then all of a sudden, like a little bit later, some come on again.
Sure.
So wouldn't you theoretically say like, all right, if I'm by there or something, you would still see the plane, or some people would see the plane pass over
Maybe. Okay.
and say the plane, passed. I don't know. There's just, it's tough for me.
Final answer.
I think it was a UFO.
Okay.
I would have to say that just because the drop rate and just the way that they hung in there, it doesn't seem like flares would do that.
No. I think that explanation is bullshit.
Because after seeing even this video and just seeing it, I went on, and I'll go on YouTube now, and I'll
You
I'll
go
try
on
to find.
flare.com.
Well, no, you just type in like flares being dropped from planes.
Flaresdropping.com.
Is there a website that?
Nightmare365flaresdrop.com.
Here's just to ask Matt a follow up on his opinion. So the reason you have that opinion is more based off the flares than the first incident.
Well, the first incident we'd have nothing. So here we're showing you this, right? And they all seem to like fizzle out real fast. You know what I'm saying?
Welcome to America, bitch.
But you could just pull up tons of these videos online and just watch flares being dropped. And now if you look at the Phoenix Lights, these things look nothing like this. And it's not like they stay illuminated. Now they're saying like we dropped them with balloons to, illuminate them more. Let me try to pull up the same.
Well, here's my question to you then.
You keep going.
Do you think that it was a military experimental aircraft?
It's possible, yes.
Okay. So here's my theory on this. Like,
Let's
because
hear it. Give it to us.
mainly the second one, because there's really not that good of footage on like the first one.
Yeah, and like we always said, like, eyewitness accounts, how can we, go on what they're saying,
Sure. So like based on the second one, based on like the witness reports and witness statements, some people were standing in their yard and were looking up at the sky, and then it went black, almost like for like 3 football fields long, and then the stars came back. So something had to have passed over. And like they saw it like almost like shimmer and glimmer as it passed over, some people. And then looking at the video where some lights, it would turn on in a sequence and turn off in a sequence. Either like maybe it was turning away or turning towards you, like the way the lights would come on. Like I legitimately think it was a UFO. Like there's no other explanation unless like the government comes out and says like, all right, it was a military experimental aircraft. Like what else could it possibly be? It's not flares. It's not weather balloons. It's not fucking,
So you're saying?
Well, here's just the thing. I just pulled up the exact flare that they claim that they used.
So you would see
and this
like
this was a balloon. And this is a balloon holding it, and they dropped a flare. And you could look online. There's tons of videos. And see, this is what really like turned me back when I was saying like I was on the fence.
Sure.
And then this was really what turned me back too, because if you show some of these flares dropping by parachute, yes, they're a lot closer with filming these these flares, but at the same time, they just look different than the Phoenix Lights.
The Phoenix Lights look so perfectly round and so like spaced out perfectly that you couldn't get that from an aircraft, because the wind would be blown at certain it would hit certain balloons at certain like speeds or altitudes, so it would shift them over.
Can you bring up the original video after looking at one of these?
At the flares, yeah.
Yeah, to do a
So
comparison.
yeah, this is another flare. I guess they were claiming.
That kind of looks like it, dude.
Yeah, but see, that one flickered out. This one's still on. Now this one.
But I thought you said some flicker out and come back on.
All right, yeah, I'll definitely pull it up. But this is just one, and then like they lose it. It like goes out.
It went behind the mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah, one behind the goddamn fucking mountains.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
So it was Maryland. They were doing their winter training there.
Yeah, that was the
This is it, right?
Yes.
Son of a gun.
I'll try to find the original video that I had up.
I mean, I have an idea of what I remember what it looks like, right?
Right.
We were looking at it before, but okay. So Matt, you're pro UFO.
I always think the government lies to us. But another thing, right? There was another dot over on this side, which you'll see. Like we're looking at the original video now again. No one ever explains this dot. I think it was this dot. Yeah.
Could be a cell tower though.
It could be, but that's always on. So it's like, all right, that one's on. See, now if it was flares, right? We saw how they come out.
All right, so see how like there's 3 illuminated, then 4.
Yes, and now a little while later. So now,
And then, like,
if an
something on-
aircraft's still in the area and still dropping them,
See, they don't just appear. You would have to see them like being dropped. You know,
yeah, and they seem like they're right in a row. You know what I'm
like
saying?
come on,
It seems too perfect.
it does.
Right.
But then again, I don't know. Like if they did this training exercise and they're really dropping, and it does stay. It's all right from the flares that we saw
Like
before,
look,
right?
it's still like going.
Yeah. So this could be the plane path, right?
It could be.
All right, this could be a cell tower. No one ever really recognizes this in any of the videos.
Yeah, I
Even,
think
like,
it's just probably like maybe like a mountain or a
Right.
satellite or
so.
something.
All right,
like
the
that.
plane disappears now, right? Kurt Russell comes flying in. Oh, there's no plane in the area
Kurt
anymore.
Russell flies by.
Yeah,
Chris
like
Pratt's like, Dad.
whatever. And then they just seem too perfect. You know what I'm saying? Like if
Right.
we looked at all the other things and I brought up the same exact flare, you could type in the same exact flare that was used
Yeah.
for this, the LUL, B52B, and they're all perfectly in the same line again. Like you're telling me conditions were that perfect for like minutes.
Plus,
on
like they
minutes.
look perfectly spaced out.
And they also aren't moving, it seems.
Correct.
And granted, again,
Why aren't they moving?
if you look at it, we're 20 something miles away.
Yeah, so you don't know.
Is that us trying to figure it out? I don't know.
Right.
Like I said, it just seems too perfect for me. It just seems like the logical explanation that the government always gives. It was a weather balloon. It was flares. End of story.
Goddamn fucking aliens out there.
Okay.
So what do you think?
All right.
So Matt, you're pro UFO.
Boom.
I am.
Greg, you're pro UFO.
What do you mean by pro UFO?
Meaning you support the theory that the Phoenix Lights was
A UFO?
UFOs.
Yes, I do.
So just to go a little deeper, you think it's an ET, not from the movie, but extraterrestrial.
I can go either way.
A manned in an aircraft or whatever craft they have. Like, so what's the...
I would say 50-50 on that.
So what if it's...
Alien or military
Okay.
aircraft.
So that's... Okay.
So it's a UFO.
If you had to put
it's
your money on one, pick one.
I would say aliens.
Aliens. Okay, so an ET. What about you?
Yeah.
What about Matt, I should say?
I want to believe, man.
So you're going aliens.
Okay. Wow.
I want to believe.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, the
What do you
ghost,
think?
the
What do you
ghost,
think?
the
This would be
revelation.
good. Yeah.
All right. I think that
think it was the
obviously the
government.
first event
Yeah.
Just the
was
government.
probably airplanes, right?
Okay.
From what I read, which was not extensive.
If you look at the
research.
video too, it kind of does maybe look like planes are flying in formation.
Okay.
But-
So all right.
but then
so
again, why
the
would they be
second
flying
the
at-
non-extensive research suggested it was
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And the second one
Not wrong.
is I'm not quite sure what it was.
Yeah.
But if I had to put money on something,
Yes. Your
it would
life.
definitely not be aliens.
You don't think it was alien
I definitely no. I'm
because you
pretty-
don't believe in
I'm as
aliens.
certain as no. I believe that perhaps aliens exist.
Okay. You don't
I
think they have the
believe-
technology to get here.
Stay
I'm
spooky.
they might have the technology to get here. I don't believe that they visit Earth.
Ooh. Where do you
Right?
think they visit? And why
So-
wouldn't you visit Earth?
If aliens exist
Yeah.
and they have the means of travel to visit Earth,
Yeah.
because we can't even observe a planet that is harboring life right now,
Correct.
I feel like there's lots of different places they could visit. So maybe they didn't get here, or they said, "Oh, look at these monkeys. We don't need to deal with them yet. Let's wait till they get a little bit more advanced."
Interesting.
So I think that it was probably something with the government,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Like the Air Force and whoever was doing the test, maybe testing something like you said earlier, maybe new technology
Sure.
or something like that. Maybe it wasn't a flare. I don't know enough about
So,
flares to say.
You don't believe aliens were ever
Come on, we
here
just showed you a
ever.
bunch of videos.
Ever.
Seeing is believing.
Like crash over Roswell never happened. Anything like that never happened. You don't think?
all the events that I know about,
Correct.
and I don't know every event that existed. Right?
Sure.
But I think that it's probably likely that there's never ever been an extraterrestrial visiting Earth.
We have a skeptic in the house.
I mean
You know?
that kind of is interesting.
It's boring, right? So I always say is that a lot of these things we talk about this, right?
I think
all the time.
90% of UFOs can be explained away.
I think
with a logical.
I think 100%, right?
Maybe
I don't know about that.
not
Which
100%.
ones can
Maybe
it?
99%.
I mean,
This-
even
this
one,
one's been- this
even
one's been out for
it has
20
an explanation.
Hey,
whether
don't
or
yell
not-
at us.
It does have
whether
an
you decide
explanation.
to
Don't yell at
accept
us.
it or not,
Yeah,
right?
no, I get that.
But why is it still being debated then after 21 years if scientists have proved like this
Because
is
people
it?
don't want to believe that life on Earth
I'm-
is as
I'm open.
boring as
I'm
it
open.
really
I'm open.
seems.
I'm
See that
open.
photograph over there?
Right.
I'm open, man.
Matt printed that out.
I
I bought
love
that.
the show. I love the show.
No, I mean-
unfortunately, it's fiction.
The show section?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't
it's
really.
not true.
But you saw in the video too
Fake
when I pulled
news.
it up, and that's why like I I was on the fence, reading about this and doing this because in their original film, if you watch that, which I'll link it up in
There
the show
are
notes.
some strange things out there.
But I will say this though, out of all the paranormal,
yeah.
I think the one that has the highest likelihood to prove me wrong
Bigfoot.
is obviously flat
Bigfoot.
Earth. Not flat Earth. It's
Yo, you believe in flat Earth?
It's UFOs, right?
Do you have strong opinions about flat Earth?
I mean, there's really only one opinion to have. Wow. The Earth is flat.
No, fuck
It's,
that.
it's just a disc. We're sliding off. It's gonna tilt.
Yeah.
You know what? A theory. Sorry, this will tie into like a future episode. I was reading. This is great. Somebody said this is on one of the videos. He goes, "Don't you find it strange how we can level things out on Earth?"
That's a good theory. The guy, my flat Earth mentor, you know him actually. His name's Gary. He works down at Lowe's.
Works in the lumber yard.
He's told me that one. It's good.
Shit. This went off the reservation.
I'm
like
sorry,
that.
Gary. I didn't mean to bring up your name.
No, but yeah, I don't know. It's
So the ghost doesn't believe in aliens.
No,
the ghost doesn't-
I do.
no, you don't.
I mean,
I believe
not
You
aliens
just
on
said
Earth.
100%.
between alien life existing outside of Earth.
Well, there has
and
to
saying
be.
that an ET came here in an aircraft.
yeah, we
That's
saw
true.
it in the 80s.
That's true. He
Hey,
came in on a
Spielberg.
bike.
Well, exactly. It was a BMX.
Well, like here's like there, the probability
I
of
just
life.
need better evidence.
The probability of life existing
Phoenix
somewhere
Lights.
else is 100%.
Yes, I agree. I
100.
agree.
Whatever that life may be, like bacteria or whatever it might be.
Right.
Yeah, they proved it.
They
right?
proved
Science.
it. Yep, it's science. You can't argue science.
Well, what
Love the
about
science?
Can't argue
the
science.
difference between a skeptic and a believer is a personal experience, right? And some
Skeptic
people,
and a believer.
some people have changed their opinions on UFOs just because of this.
And I think that if an event happened and they provided evidence for my personal threshold,
Didn't you see a UFO?
didn't I?
We talked about
Yes. But again, when I see a UFO, when someone sees an unidentified
Right.
flying object, it doesn't automatically make it an ET.
Correct.
Right? It could be some missile or airplane or
Yeah.
a flare.
Or maybe a
SpaceX.
satellite coming down.
Right, exactly.
Crashing
It could be
Earth.
all
Yeah,
these
yeah.
different things.
Yep.
But there was a couple times where I was driving, I saw something, and I was like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've had that many times happen to
Like
me.
I stopped my car driving. I was like, what was that?
Mm-hmm.
And
Damn you, skeptic.
yeah, it was just something I couldn't explain.
Yeah, I think this case will always be debated, and it's going to be debated for a long
Just
time.
like any fucking alien case until when they land somewhere. You go, all right, we're here, bitches.
Yeah, but
We
like,
brought Bigfoot back.
like you were saying too, like if they had this technology, you really think they're going to be messing around with us?
You never know, though.
No, you don't know. Because it could be somebody like us, right? Picture us as kids going back in the day and being like, we have this technology. We're going to fuck with all these humans. Watch this. And you just sit there, hover, like start beeping the horn. Like,
I would do more shit, though, then.
maybe they're so far out of our comprehension that you can't even fathom what they would even be thinking about doing.
That's true.
Because it's just like, there's, like even to mess around with somebody,
Yeah.
it's almost like messing around with like a baby. It's like, yeah, it's fun for like 2 minutes and then now we're off. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
No,
just,
I get that.
so I don't know.
Final conclusions.
It
The
was-
ghost doesn't believe in Bigfoot, UFOs.
No, what do you think,
alien.
the ghost?
Yeah, it was aliens, guys.
See, he believes in the alien part. So I get it.
Me and Gary believe. Stephen Hawking believes in aliens.
Well, he took a page out of Stephen Hawking's book
A
because Stephen
page.
Hawking's believed the same thing.
His
right?
wheelchair is going to be up for auction.
He
on the
believed
Nightmare
that there was,
365 podcast page.
Dude, you're so messed up.
What? No good.
No good. No good, bro.
That thing's got to be auctioned off, though, right?
Yeah. I think this is a cool case, and there's plenty of documentaries and movies people could check out about it. So take a look. Take a look at our show notes because we're going to link all the videos that we talked about here.
Next week's episode.
All right.
The Denver airport. What do you know about that, the ghost? Do you know anything about the Denver airport?
No clue.
Oh, here's a cool
It's an
conspiracy.
No, it's a pretty cool, like, if you look into it, like why they built it and like what, like just Google Denver airport artwork. It'll blow your mind.
Yeah, so that's where we're talking about on the next Case File podcast.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
Number one.
All right.
Visit us at nightmare365.com for all of our contact information, our cell phone, P.O. box, Matt's email, personal email, maybe some nude pics if he wants. You know, maybe him in the shower with like a Jason mask on or stuff like
Correct.
that.
Stuff like that. So yeah, check us out. Thank you for listening to this episode.
Thank you. That's fucking awesome.
Stay tuned for our episode, yes, on the
Denver airport next
Denver
week.
International Airport conspiracy. Do
Let's
you know
fly
anything
out
about it?
Let's fucking fly out there let's do an on-site
Dude,
live
I wanted to go to
podcast.
some other places and you didn't even want to go to.
I'll go to Denver.
No, you wouldn't.
Why not?
You wouldn't. Because we would plan everything out. And you'd be like,
Denver,
I can't, man.
Sunshine State.
It sure is, man.
Put
Yeah.
put in a good word for me.
Hey,
Hey,
the Patreon page.
the Patreon page.
We did a thank you video. So
We did. I thought it was a very good video. I think.
yeah, it was a good mess around video too. So if you are a Patreon listener, subscriber, whatever you
Fan.
want to call it, fan, you support the show on Patreon.
Every dollar that's donated this week, next week I won't be wearing clothes. So like $1, shirt comes off. $2, pants come off.
You're being
$3?
weird now. I think you need some food. Go get some food. Thank you everybody for listening to today's episode. And until next time, what do we say?
Stay spooky. Stay
spooky.
Stephen Hawking.